National Highways Authority of India has issued a notice to the Mysore City Corporation for the removal of what it calls a structure constructed to achieve controversial kind of issues. Now, and this is with reference to a dome-like structure constructed over one of the bus stops in Mysuru city that one of the members of parliament from the state of Karnataka had threatened to actually demolish. Let me now go across to Deepak Bopanna for more on this. Deepak, tell us about what the NHAI notice actually says, which now calls for the removal of the dome-like structure over one of the bus stops in Mysuru.
Yes, Siddharth, this controversy, of course, has been going on ever since Pratap Simha, the BJP MP from Mysuru Kodagu, he objected to this particular structure, said that this dome and this entire bus shelter looks like a masjid, and this is not something that should be kept in Mysuru. And after that, he of course said in about 4 days' time he will go demolish it himself if the corporation officials don't do it. Now we are looking at this circular that has been issued to the commissioner and the executive engineer of the KRDL. They are saying that the removal of unauthorized occupation along this particular stretch of the road, they are talking about the bus shelter. We've also been told that yesterday there was a meeting held in Mysuru where they are planning to defend this construction, and because they're saying that this was done on the lines of the heritage city of Mysuru and not symbolized at any religion. I have Mr. Ramlinga Reddy with me, very senior Congress leader, former minister. If you could tell us, what do you make of now the NHAI as well budging in after the BJP MP opposed to this particular structure or a bus shelter?
See, Mysuru city is a heritage city. There are hundreds of heritage buildings. This is not my view. Mr. Ramdas, MLA of BJP from Mysore, he told this is this bus stop constructed according to a heritage design. There are a lot of buildings in Mysore. Even that Gumbas, it is in a palace. It is in palace also. This just to polarize votes. Pratap Simha will do all those things. Throughout the year, the same business. He don't work as an MP. Just creating problems. That's all.
Okay. But the Congress oppose this because at the end of the day, overall, it's a taxpayers' money that was spent to build this structure. If they're going to remove it now, it's a waste, and again, it's going to be spent to build another
bus stop. This is construction of bus stops is for inconvenience of public. Convenience of public. And majority of the bus stops, they don't take permission. Permission is not necessary for bus stop. Just they're politically motivated. They don't have common sense for these people.
Thank you, sir, for speaking to us. Well, that's the word from the Congress party, going on to say this is just an attempt to polarize. We'll really have to see what the corporation at the end of the day decides, because after this circular reached them, of course, they've had another meeting and they've of course wanted to reconsider whether they actually have to bring down the structure. We've already seen some changes in the shape with a kalash being put on top of the dome, and we've also seen some BJP leaders there itself defend the structure. Like Mr. Ramlinga Reddy was saying, Mr. Ramdas of the BJP has also entered into a tug-of-war of sorts with Pratap Simha over this matter.
Absolutely, Deepak. I'll just read out what Mr. Ramdas has been quoted as saying. He says, in order to showcase the historical and cultural significance of Mysuru, bus stops are to be constructed in resemblance to the Mysore Palace in several places of the constituency with different designs. So that's exactly the quote that the Congress leader that you spoke to was referring to when citing what Mr. Ramdas said. But let me take this across to Aditi, who will take us through the contents of the notice that has now been issued by the NHAI. Over to you, Aditi.
Yes, Siddharth, we have the NHAI letter which states the notice for removal of unauthorized occupation at kilometers this of Kerala border to Kollegala section. Now this is to, please refer to the subject cited above. The bus stop has been constructed even though many times our engineers have stopped the work within the national highway right away. In this connection, it is advised to remove the structure constructed to achieve controversial kind of issues which is not acceptable, and accordingly 1 week time has been given to remove these controversial structures. Since it has developed communal issues as per the National Highway Administration Act, this may be treated as notice. Otherwise, as per the Highway Administration Act 2003, action will be initiated as per the Highway Administration Act, notice is enclosed and requested for reply at the earliest.
Right, many thanks for that, Aditi. We'll also see what the response is coming in from the municipal authorities in Mysuru and the civic administration there, which had in fact played a role in putting up those dome-like structures around the bus stop. Let me take this across once again to Deepak. Deepak, what can you tell us about the follow-up action now? Is the NHAI's recommendation now binding? How is the administration expected to respond to the notice that has been issued?
So that this bus shelter is, on the highway from Mysuru to Nanjangud. That's the highway that, the NHAI, of course, is in charge
of. Interrupt you there. We're being joined by Mr. Brijesh Kallappa for his perspective on this. Yes, Mr. Kallappa, do you think this is a manufactured controversy, or do you see some merit in the notice that's been issued by the NHAI for the removal of that dome-like structure over a bus stop?
See, the first thing is that the Mysore MP has recently spoken on this subject.
Yes.
And he has made his mind clear, and he's clearly an Islamophobe. So he feels that all dome-like structures remind you of mosques. But there are several temples which also have dome-like structures on top. And you can ask your correspondent, Mr. Bopanna, if he's seen a similar dome-like structure in Madikeri at the temple, at the biggest temple in Madikeri. Now, one can't simply broad brush everything and say that, look, all domes are Islamic structures. I think this indicates that there's complete vacuum in people's minds. Now, after the MP has spoken, now the NHAI is acting in that direction. Okay. So what does it mean? It means that the NHAI has no mind of its own. It's applying the mind of the MP, Member of Parliament, who doesn't hold any executive authority over it. It's a fact that the chief executive who's dealing with the NHAI in Mysore, he reports directly to the Member of Parliament. But that doesn't mean that the Member of Parliament's writ will continue even in the NHAI. I believe that the government of India has a specific thought process, and the Member of Parliament's thought process is not part of that thought process.
Right, Mr. Kallappa, point taken. Let me just also take this across to Ms. Malvika Avinash of the BJP as well for her perspective on this. Ms. Avinash, the criticism against the BJP here is that Pratap Sinha, the Member of Parliament from that particular constituency, raised an objection, and the NHAI has pretty much bowed down to his demands by seeking the removal of that dome-like structure. What's your view?
No, I think you are mixing up issues. It is true that Pratap Sinha found it objectionable that a bus stop, which should look plain like a bus stop and not like a religious structure. That is the first objection that he raised. It is true that he raised such an objection. However, notwithstanding whether the bus stop looks like one or like a religious structure, the NHAI has refused permission, and the construction, according to the NHAI, is illegal. Therefore, they have issued a show cause notice and orders for destruction of the bus stops. So what problem should anybody have in this? I don't understand. Most certainly not Aam Aadmi Party. Where from have they landed? And they seem to have a huge opinion on this. If the NHAI says it's against the rules, it's against the rules. Whether it is Aam Aadmi Party or whoever else has a problem with it, we'll have to keep quiet because we'll go with what the law says and not with what some party spokesperson says.
But the local MLA, Mr. S.A. Ramdas, who belongs to the BJP, Ms. Avinash, has this to say. He says that we've built these in order to showcase the historical and cultural significance of Mysuru. Bus stops are to be constructed in resemblance to the Mysore Palace in several places of the constituency with different designs. So it appears that there's a divide even within the BJP ranks in Karnataka, with Mr. Simha raising objection to that structure, while Mr. Ramdas, also an MLA of the BJP, having a different view.
This again is uncalled for. Mr. Ramdas, not knowing the NHAI rules, has gone ahead and ordered for that construction. And now, pretending that law says or speaks differently does not help. If the NHAI feels it's illegal, it is illegal. And this whole confusion about resembling Mysore Palace, we all know the difference between a kalasha and a dome. Yes, what resembles the dome of a mosque is very different from what is a kalasha in the Hindu tradition. However, none of this really doesn't matter because Today, the NHAI feels the construction is illegal, and therefore we'll go with that. And Pratap Simha is only speaking in accordance with what the National Highways Authority say.
Right. So let me take that across to Mr. Kalapa. Mr. Kalapa, you heard Ms. Avinash speak there. Are you convinced by what she said? Because she says this is a parallel process that has been initiated by the NHAI. Do not confuse it with what objections Mr. Simha had raised.
No, one can only pity this kind of a reaction. And one can only say that I'm sorry that the NHAI is not an authority for saying that this design is okay and this design is not okay. NHAI can say the quality of road is good. NHAI can't say that architecturally this is okay or this is not okay. But you tell me the mandate of the NHAI, where does it permit the NHAI to say that this kind of an architecture is fine and this kind of an architecture is not fine? This is a problem when, when party spokespersons who don't have legal knowledge, who don't have any idea about how organizations are structured, what is the legal ambit within which they have to speak. They come and shoot their mouths off and make asses of themselves. So this is a whole problem in the whole process. So first thing is, let the honorable party spokesperson know what the ambit of the NHAI is. Does the NHAI's ambit extend to saying that this kind of architecture is fine or not? Which part of the NHAI handbook says that the NHAI has the right to decide which way or which kind of architecture is fine and which isn't? There is absolutely nothing in the handbook. It can only testify as to whether road quality is good,
right,
whether road quality is bad, such things. Where is the question of making such a broad-brush statement, particularly after the MP has spoken?
Right. Thank you, Mr. Kalapa. And we'll also wait and see if the Aam Aadmi Party does officially raise an objection to this in the state of Karnataka. It's very much a stakeholder in the build-up to the elections to take place there next year. Thank you for your perspective. But